Truly African.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the show. My name is Pratt. This is The Couch. Today being a Wednesday, this is the book review edition of the show. We have been reviewing Half of a Yellow Sun for a while now. You know, we've done a series of reviews on Half of a Yellow Sun. But for this particular series, we've done, I think, 3, in-house reviews. And this promises to be the last one. Now, I'm happy or excited about bringing this one because let me declare immediately that I have an agenda, with this specific review that we are going to do. If you've watched the last 2 or 3 in the series of reviewing Half of a Yellow Sun, you'd realize that we've dealt with some themes and all of that. And for the last conversation we had, this issue of love kept coming up. And love with a revolutionary, for me, it's an interesting concept, it's an interesting perspective that Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie brilliantly brings to the fore, as always. And I thought of exploring that a little further with real-life activists and with real-life revolutionaries, So we're blessed then to have Blaze in the studio, and he accepted the challenge to come back and have the conversation. Gracefully, graciously, happily, he's here this evening, and so we get to continue the conversation from there. Please do forgive me if I get a little obnoxious with the topic. I think that some uncomfortable conversations need to be had. So welcome to the show, and welcome, Blaze, to the show.
Thank you very much, Amma. It's always a pleasure to sit with you and discuss.
I'm happy to see you.
Yeah, good to be here.
But you have already forgiven me for how obnoxious I intend to be on the show today.
Well, I intend to confront the issues as strongly as I can. So let's see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, let me quickly say thank you to ATL Fabrics for those lovely fabrics that I've used for my house. Let me say thank you to you, Lady Chi, for my makeup. Okay. So let's get into it. Before we get to my agenda, please, you being our one and only guest for tonight, what do you want to stress on? I'm sure that you would also have some themes or some issues that you would want to discuss from the book. Let's clear those ones first, and then we'll get to mine.
Thank you very much, Amma, for being so generous to me. I'm grateful. I'm grateful because this book is a masterpiece, and we discussed it the last time I was on your show, that the book has a lot of themes that we can discuss within various contexts, and I think it is helpful for us to make those discussions. I want to also thank you for giving me the opportunity to go and reread this book. Okay, because I read this book some 8 years ago, and when I read this book as a young adolescent, different themes struck me. With your indulgence, and I went back to read the book, different themes have emerged. And I thought that it is important to address those themes. When I was a young man and I read this book, of course, love was strong. As an adolescent growing up, even the theme of sex was very important to me as an adolescent. So those were the things that kept me in suspense in reading this book. And if you read this book, Chimamanda has a very nice way of expressing those sentiments, and you will enjoy it. But now reading this book, the matter of ethnicity have come up very strongly. And I shared with you the last time that this book does no more than trying to reinvent or keep the conversation around the status of Biafra. In a way, you disagree with me. When I went back to read, I started with the dedication.
Right.
Okay. And if you permit me, I'll just read it. It says that my grandfathers, whom I never knew, Nwoye David Adichie in Aro Nweke Felix Odiji, did not survive the war.
Right.
My grandmothers, Nwabudu Regina and Agnes Adichie, remarkable women, both died. This book is dedicated to their memories. Okay, so Chimamanda has her direct family engaged in the Biafran War.
Right.
And some died. So you cannot remove this book from the politics of the Biafrans. You can't remove the book from it. It encapsulates it, it tries to project a certain politics, and it's important to bring that. And I also have to bring that theme because as a socialist and as someone who is interested in building a different society, I am anti-ethnic projections. I am against any politics that sought to bring a certain ethnic group beyond others. And I thought that this book tried to do that. Okay.
And I disagreed.
Yeah. If you permit me also, the matter of what defines you was clear in this book.
Okay.
And this book sought to say that what makes you distinct from another person was your tribe.
I disagree.
Oh, I can read the relevant portions for
Please,
you.
what page would that be?
They said they were asking what defines you,
right.
And they said you cannot be defined by your nationality because.
Can I please have the page?
Okay,
please?
okay, thank you. It says. Of course.
What page, please?
Page 33. Okay, page 33. Pan-Africanism is simply the most sensible response. And they were talking about the exploitation of, black people. It says, of course. But my point is that the only authentic identity for the African is the tribe. Master said, I am Nigerian because a white man created Nigeria and gave me that identity. I am black because the white man constructed black to be as different as possible from his white. But I am Igbo before the white man came. Okay, so this is clear. They are trying to let you...
But this is Odenigbo's opinion.
No, but this book is a fiction.
Right.
This book is not a logical, a true life event of... It's an imagery construction.
I appreciate that. I'm only saying that...
So this is
Chimamanda. No, I mean, come on. Oh. There are so many characters in the book.
Yes.
Who disagree.
Yes.
So this is Odenigbo's perspective.
Ama, Odenigbo as a character in this book is an image by Chimamanda. This is her book.
So is Olana.
Yes.
So is
they are all imaginary.
So is George.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you
she
can go
is
on
the
and
architect of the book.
So is Ugu.
Yes.
So this is just Odenigbo's perspective.
As projected by Chimamanda. Because she wrote the book.
And every other character who has every other different perspective.
They are all her images. She creates those images with an intention to create an idea. That's the point I'm making.
So this is one idea, but she creates other ideas that contradict this idea.
So I'm not contesting this idea. I'm saying that we are not our tribe. You are not defined by your tribe. That's a very big statement to make. And I also started by telling you that this book is projecting the Biafran ethnic politics. And so all these images sought to re-emphasize that point. I don't know whether you are getting me.
I totally get you. I just disagree with you.
How?
Guys. I disagree with you. I get you. I do.
Yes.
But I disagree with you.
No problem. No. But what the point I want to make is that, look, it is important for all young people who have taken this book, because when you read this book, you are learning. And there's a point that they make about the importance of education, that we should not be defined by ethnicity. Because the basis for who we are, our ethnicity, our politics, our religion, our science, our arts and culture, are a projection of how our material life is constructed. So we are defined by our class, not by our ethnicity. And for the people of Nigeria, look, whether you are an Igbo, whether you are an Hausa, or how do you call them, you must, because there is certain class interest at play. And you must identify who you are based on the role you play in the production of society. That is the most important, because think about it. What you and I share as human beings is how we work and how that work reproduces all the ideas that we have. That is critical. And we have two basic principles of how we work. We have those who own and control. We know them. Look at how they are behaving. And we have those who own nothing. So, but those who own and control share the same ethnicity with those who don't own and control. So when you divide people by their ethnicity, what you are essentially doing is to disrupt the class struggle inherent in moving society. And what moves society is production and distribution of our material life.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do. I'm just saying that this book cannot be responsible for that.
This book
cannot be.
No, it's not responsible. It plays part of it. Because books, our education, is essential in constructing our society.
Blaze, what you are saying
Yeah.
is that this is a theme, the theme of ethnicity that comes up, and that's how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Right? And I appreciate that.
Yes.
But I will not be quick to blame Commander Ngozi Adichie or say that it's an agenda she seeks to project, because there are other characters who feel differently.
Yeah.
She projects other ideas as well and other perspectives. This is just one perspective from one character's point of view.
Yeah. And I'm saying that as
and you see, it's one of the reasons why I don't even, it would be wrong for me to say I don't like Udenibo, but I have concerns, and I've expressed this to you.
I think that will be at the team.
Towards the end of the conversation.
Sure.
But all of these things add to some of these views that he holds, as to how I feel about him.
Okay.
I don't know if that.
Yes.
So I'm holding this character responsible solely for his views, his perspectives, and how he chooses to behave and not behave. All his acts and his omissions.
Yeah.
I will not lay blame on Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I think that's where the two of us disagree.
There's a little problem with that position, because you see, there are so many Odinegos walking around.
Right.
Odinego is not one person. It's an image that the writer wants to project.
Right.
So when you were, and that was how I appreciate the discussion you had with me earlier on, you were projecting Odinegbo to the many, many revolutionaries that you've come into contact with.
Absolutely.
So if they are projecting Odinegbo as an ethnic bigot, there are so many ethnic bigots in our society.
Right.
And if you project an image of it, you are playing part of that projection. Are you getting me? Because Odinegbo is not one person.
What is the point of the projection is so that we can see it for what it is, and say and do exactly what you are doing, and say that this is terrible, this shouldn't happen, this is not how we should.
You allowed me to do it.
Go on, please.
There is also one important thing I want to talk about.
Right.
Okay. If you can go to page 70.
70. Okay.
Yeah. And it is still this academic discussion of Odinegbo and his other professors.
Right.
You know, because those discussions are very important. These are people we hold in high esteem, and we have to. He says that Nkrumah really wanted to lord it all over Africa. It was arrogant of America to insist that the Soviets take their missiles out of Cuba while theirs remain in Turkey. Sharpeville was only a dramatic example of hundreds of blacks killed by South African states every day. But she suspected that there was a glaze of unoriginality every day. Originality to all her ideas. Nkrumah did not want to lord it all over Africa. This is also another dangerous position. You see, and I'm not blaming Chimamanda in a way. What I'm saying is that there are statements that are made in this book that when people read it, they serve as an information to them. And it is important to debunk some of them. Nkrumah did not want to lord it all over Africa.
Please, we've come across Nigerian authors who strongly believe this and have projected this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Chest out.
Oh,
I could mention
big personalities.
Big names.
Yes, yes.
You know, who held very disturbing views, you know, about our history.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that Chimamanda is one of them. I think that, so for me, this conversation then becomes a true reflection of a real conversation that could happen on a university campus.
Which is happening.
Where university lecturers could hold such positions.
Yes.
Because we've come across them in real life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yes. So that's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that she's just re-emphasizing the many views that
How about
are
just
held.
echoing? How about just echoing the reality that, even her personal reality, her parents were university professors.
Yeah.
What if these are conversations she overheard growing up?
And she put them in a book.
Yes.
So I'm saying that...
The book must be real enough, no?
Yes. So, yeah, and the book is real.
Very real.
The Biafran situation is real.
Right.
The ethnic thing is real. Even in our country, there are some people who think that it is their legitimate birthright to rule this country. So if you write a book that reprojects that same ideas, you are part of that same system.
No. This is where we disagree, Blaze. Okay. The fact that she's recounted, perhaps, real conversations that she had in the past, in my view, is not re-emphasizing. You know, it's just saying what is. Now that leaves you and me to analyze and say that this is true or not. And
that's what I've done.
Her task as an author, it's just to put a mirror to society, which is what she has done. She just put a mirror to society, and she's telling us how intellectuals felt at the time. So then in reviewing it, we then say, well, we challenge the view. Right? But then you don't lay blame.
No, it's not more or less.
What has she done?
For example, you know, last time we did this exercise, I mentioned that books were not neutral. And one of Chimamanda's speeches, he said books are extremely powerful. Books are, the extent to which books can change you is unthinkable. So I'm saying that when people read this book, if they are not privy to what you know, then they accept these things as the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And that's why for someone like me, when I read this book 8 years ago, I couldn't make this analysis. For me, I took all of them hook, line, and sinker.
No, but I mean,
you see,
how can you read any book, take a conversation, and take it hook, line, and that's a conversation. People disagreed with the views.
Chimamanda, when I was growing up, was my idol. I
still love her.
I love her also.
Oh, okay.
But I don't love her politics. Because the politics, and I'm saying team of politics, this book is weak. Because it re-emphasizes a lot of things about politics that are factually inaccurate. And I pointed them out.
What if that was her objective? What if that was what she actually set out to do? To start a conversation just like this one?
I will not know. What I will know is what I read in her book.
But isn't that what authors are supposed to do?
Authors do so many things. They have so many. Authors are funded to project a certain line of thought. Research is not neutral. Medicine is not neutral. The pharmaceutical industries are funded by big-time corporations to fund research towards a certain outcome. We know it. So my view, or what my task is this morning, is to do an objective analysis of this book. And on the theme of politics, on the theme of ethnicity, this book has churned out some ideas that I think, you know, are misconstrued. And that is just what I
agree with you, Blaze.
Yeah.
I agree with you to the extent that there are views. You see, let's do this. Take a book like The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born.
Yes.
Now, if you make a categorical statement about the book, you know, in terms of its politics and say it's weak, I don't think anybody can contest you, because the author makes no apologies about who he is and how he feels and how he chooses to present. Right? Here we have Half of a Yellow Sun, which has other perspectives, other characters, and presents them all. So you choose. In this instance, I refuse to blame the author for any agenda or ulterior motive, anything like that. There are books that when you pick, you know that, okay, this is the author, this is how the author feels, and this is what it is. This is, for me, this is not one of those books. This is a book that projects everything. This is that, this person feels this way, that. There's a lot of debate in the book.
Yeah.
There are lots of ideas that are thrown at you, but then every idea that's thrown at you is also contested.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, it's just, here are the issues, here are the perspectives.
Choose.
You make of it what you want.
And have just made of it what I want.
So do that without blaming the author for this is my goodness.
Look, but my point is, you see, and this is my last, like, really strong point on this. Okay, we don't all have equal capacities to choose.
That's a fair point.
So, when you throw things out, and this book, when you say he throws different things out, there's nowhere where he says in this book that ethnicity is not, how do you call it? That she seeks to project ethnicity as anti-political agenda. There's nowhere in this book. He just puts a figure, a very strong professor, who makes a categorical statement that we are what we are by virtue of our tribe. And I'm saying that that view, as expressed by Odinebo, who is the mental image of Chimamanda, is false. and this is important for all of us who want to mobilize around a certain orientation, so that we are not divided by ethnic grounds. Because if you read this, you will have the impression that, oh yes. And when I read this some years ago, it was a huge point for me, I think. That, oh, and you see the argument, oh, we are not nationalists because it's the foreigner who created the boundaries. Fantastic argument. Oh, we are not blacks. The black mentality was created by the white man. What you are before the European came is your what? Tribe. And that's why you are an Igbo. You know, so for me, yes, you are an Igbo, but for a certain politics that I want to project, that would be anti that, and then I'm just expressing it.
No. I side with you on that point. I mean, and you do that. You do that analysis brilliantly. At the end of the day, it's not about whether you are Igbo or whether you are, whether you are Asante, or at the end of the day, what's your relationship with the resources, and how does that affect, the bigger picture. So let's identify based on class, based on production, based on our access to resources and things like that, so that we all fight for equity. Wouldn't that be the point you're making?
Yes.
And I agree with you.
Yeah.
Completely.
Thank you very much, Amma, for agreeing with me. If I can move to the next theme that I want to discuss.
Please go ahead.
Which is humility.
Please go ahead. Humility. Okay.
Oh, I hope you will have to disagree with me on this.
Please, let's see what it is first.
Is it Ogu, the housemaid?
Yes, Ogu.
Ogu is a personality that Chimamanda projects that I find so fascinating. I mean, the guy is remarkable. His attitude is what young people of our generation should look up to. He goes to a certain home, understanding where he comes from, and all he's interested in is learning from his quote-unquote master. He's so humble, he works so hard, and he seeks, when the professors or lecturers are discussing, he's interested in listening to the discussion and learning from it. So that character of humility, and for all of us who on one way or the other have the opportunity to work under people, it is important for us to cultivate that, huge spirit of humility. Humility is so important. Humility is understanding your history, understanding your current moment with an intention to learn. He's always ready to learn. And that's why when Olana came to the house, he first of all felt threatened. He said, hey, this lady has come to take my position and the attention that Odinebu has for me. You know, but his humility made Olana open the arms and welcome him into the house. So I just thought that his personality is something that young people should grab. We should be humble. We should be ready to learn always, because experience is very important.
Right.
And those who have experience of society before us, it's always important for us to learn from them.
I agree with you. Yeah. My only thing, and I've said this a couple of times on the show, I have a problem with the connotations or the local interpretation or meanings that we've given to the word humble around here.
Yeah.
You know, so here when I hear humble, humility, and you know, the images that it evokes are not for me what it should be, which is normally my problem with the word humble. Because normally when we say somebody's humble, it's not about that. We sort of ascribe new meanings, and those new meanings...
So we're being subservient.
Yes. And I always have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Because I think that humility is an important word. It's a big word.
Yeah.
You know, and it's more than we make it out to be. And normally we even use humility in a very selfish context, if that even makes any sense.
Yes,
you know, where it's more of stooping to conquer than actually, because humility should have some selflessness attached to it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I get the context that you are coming from. And even for our society, which is patriarchal, some group of people are supposed to be humble. And then in this...
Thank you for going there.
Yes. And in this context, the woman is supposed to be humble. It's not supposed to be ambitious. It's supposed to serve the man. You know, so in that context, humility becomes derogatory. It becomes anti-progress. You know, but like you said, in respect of how I see humility and the character as portrayed by Chimamanda, this is a young man that has a certain history, has come into a new place, is working with somebody that has vast experience than he does. The only way to learn is to make sure that you are abiding by the vast experience that the guy has accumulated over the years. And that when you are wrong, you have the humility to accept it. You remember when I don't know whether he took meat from...
Oh yeah.
And took it to
in the beginning, when he put his pocket.
When he thought that the ordinary will be so angry, so he had to go out and search for a certain leaf to prepare the best meal that that he could prepare, just to make sure that he appeases them. So it's that context that I see that experience is important. And for those who have had experience more than us, it's important for us to, you know, to give them that respect and to learn from them, you know, in a constructive manner, in a constructive environment.
Absolutely. Please go on to your other themes.
I also think that one thing that came out strongly is family. You know, I think that the family is so important in this book, and I say the family in respect of Olana, going back to her extended family, visiting them, experiencing the conditions in which they live.
Even her auntie.
Yes, for me I was so touched by that gesture, you know, to the extent that, you know, and things shocked her. You see, it makes you understand the socio-economic context in which people live, how people have different ideas from us. To her, to lie in the same place, and the thoughts that your elders, the possibility of sex, where I'm lying closer, was an impossibility. It's something that she could never
conceptualize.
Yes. But she gets there, and that's the reality, you know. So that's something that struck me. And her dedication to the family, going to visit them, eat what they were eating, understanding their situation. I mean, the whole personality of Olana is so...
She's amazing.
She's amazing.
She's amazing.
She's so amazing.
I want us to stay here a little bit, you know, and sort of have a small conversation about this one. And I love the fact that you bring it up. Somebody like Olana, sharing a small space with a whole family is an impossible concept. Because she's grown up in a place where she has her room, her sister has her room, her parents have different rooms, you know, all of that. And so she comes back, she goes back home, you know, to family in the, you know, in other parts of the country, and experiences a whole new world. So obviously worldviews, perspective, things like that. But then Olana is primed for leadership, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wouldn't she be the type of person that becomes an MP?
Yeah.
A minister.
Yes.
You know? And then you look at the disconnect, right? The disconnect of her life and her views, her worldview from that of the people that she would serve.
Yes.
And wouldn't that even be at the center of most of our problems?
That's true.
Most of the, you know.
I agree. That's the point I
right?
sought to make. You know, that, look, this thing about experiencing people in their situation, backed by how they live, how they produce, how they think, is so important. Because you cannot solve the problems of people if you don't get in touch with them and understand and let them give you the direction. Today, the conversation by those who represent us on a budget that is to affect the lives of our people is Article 102 and Article 104.
What do I care?
Incredible. It's shocking. So that's the context in it. So the discussion is completely devoid of the realities of remote, you know. So it's the same context. So Olana's personality for me is so fascinating, you know. Olana Ogu, I am so touched about how that lady carried herself. Again, this is a praise to Chimamanda, because there's
finally.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it on.
No, because that image of Olana is her image. I don't think there's somebody who existed in history called Olana who had to walk and go, but she connected the experiences of people and put it into a mental image and represented it in a book. So that is credit to Chimamanda. That personality is what I would say, not women, but men and women together should have that kind of personality. You know, it's amazing, and then it just teaches us that life is the connection that we create and the experiences that we build out of it.
Blaze, it's so funny you say this. The reason I love Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie so much is the fact that she's able to create beautiful people and ugly people in equal measure. That's why I love her. Yeah. I don't know if you understand. She's able to create or bring up perspectives that I find very annoying and I can't deal with. Yeah. And yet she's able to bring about perspectives and ideas. I'm just like, that for me, and that's why I insist that she's an objective storyteller. Do you understand where I'm going with this? I mean, and I refuse to blame her for what I don't like when I read her books. Yeah. Because I find that she's very able to tell a subjective story.
While we discuss Olana, and when we read these books also, there are things that we see, and when I'm done with this, we can move to the theme that you are most interested in.
Yes.
She says that she was described as one that is illogically beautiful. I don't understand what that means.
Olana.
Yes.
Doesn't she sound illogically beautiful?
Good. I'm saying that I don't understand that.
I mean, it's her beauty beats reason. Like, why
it beats
is she
logic.
so beautiful?
Okay.
And for me, it's deeper than skin.
I get you now.
I think it's deeper than skin.
So she goes beyond the logic of beauty.
She's beautiful.
Okay. I didn't understand that. I said she's illogically beautiful. I didn't understand.
Like, let's have an example. You know, there are some people when you meet them and you know that something should work, right? You have an image of beauty and it's supposed to be maybe round eyes.
Yes.
And a pointed nose. And perhaps a round lip or something. And then you meet somebody who has perhaps square lips and rectangular nose.
Yeah.
And inverted eyes. And yet this person is really beautiful. So for me, that could be a concept of somebody who's illogically beautiful. Or just somebody who's just so beautiful that, why? Everybody has a flaw. Where's yours? Yeah,
that's true. I mean, when we read these books, there are certain things that we don't understand. And this was one of the phrases that I couldn't, because I thought she was logically beautiful. So I didn't understand when you said she was illogically beautiful. But your explanation, I understand so much.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So any other things?
No, these were the most important.
Right.
Yeah. I know the theme of love is important. I did not understand the love between, is it Canaan and the man? Is it Richard?
Yes, Richard.
I didn't understand it.
Why?
Because, look, it wasn't connected to anything. It was just words about two people. No, but before Canaan and Richard,
right,
there was Canaan and another man. No. Richard finally broke up with Canaan and fell in love with a different. I'm confused.
What do you want love to be connected to?
If you look at the connection between Odinegbu and Olana, it makes sense,
But I don't like love that makes sense.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why? It has to make sense. It has to be two people who understand each other. This way, two people who are from the same, let's say, orientation, work frame. I mean, Olana and Odinegbu. Okay. You see, they connect, and then she goes in a line. She says that this man makes a revolutionary move.
Yeah, deception.
Yeah. Oh.
Then he deceives her.
Then she falls in love with, and the love that they formed was not spontaneous. It grew with time. Okay.
I rather thought it was spontaneous.
Admiration, of course, that singular act connected them, but they grew in love. That's the most important thing that I also got from the two of them. They were in touch, always writing, always visiting. It took time for them, and even her family were expecting Olana. Hama, you don't talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
Her family expected a different man for...
Absolutely.
But she, because of the connection, because of the friendship, they were friends.
But you see, that's why I speak about not liking love that makes sense, because in my estimation, Olana and Odinegbu did not make sense.
Okay.
From where I sit, they didn't make sense. So this is a bougie girl, grew up outside the shores of Nigeria, went to school outside the shores of Nigeria, back home from an affluent society, nice and rosy. She makes sense with the other guy, the handsome guy.
Yes.
Is it Ibrahim? I forget his name.
Yeah, Ibrahim now is something.
They make sense because both of them are, affluent kids.
Yeah.
She's good looking, he's good looking.
Yeah.
Great background. Odinegbu is not her type of person. He's a revolutionary. He's so that love for me did not make sense. Somebody expected Olana to end up with somebody like that. But she does.
Yes.
And it's because of that spontaneity that you speak about. I think it was love at first sight. They meet. He wows her. He represents something that she's not used to. This idea of a man that can stand up to, that white guy in a queue and It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, but that is and that's where I hold a different view, because I think it was more of friendship.
No, that was love.
You know, I will call it friendship at the beginning, you know, because look, we are struck by so many things, okay? But those things do not immediately amount to love. Some form of admiration does not immediately mean that there's love. I mean, when I talk about love, I'm talking about it within this emotional
what is love, Blaze?
Connection.
Blaze, what is love?
Emotional connection that encompasses everything, including sex. Okay.
Blaze, what is love?
Emotional connection. That emotional connection that encompasses everything that it is with the person.
Like what? Everything like what?
Look, the two of you define each other's reality.
Right.
My reality, if you are in love with somebody, your reality is represented by that person. So you are connected emotionally. You have a certain project that you want to achieve in life, and that project must happen with this person.
Because you're ticking boxes. You're ticking boxes.
How?
You're ticking boxes.
How?
That's why you want love that makes sense. You want to tick boxes.
No.
Check.
No,
Check.
But I explained to you. You know, Olana objected at the beginning to any issue of marriage.
We'll come to that after the break. We are coming straight back to that after the break. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll define what Blaze's understanding of love is, you know, in the context of his revolutionary status. Stay with us.
Whatever the occasion, with ATL, you can never be out of style. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
Welcome back to the show. If you are just joining in, this is The Couch. My name is Pratt. We are reviewing, again, Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and we have been doing this with Blaze. You know, Blaze is my comrade, member Socialist Forum of Ghana, and all things revolutionary, you know. And we have been joined by Ikua, and Ikua is a literally lover. You know, you get to know her. Don't worry, I got you when it comes to that. Welcome, Ikua.
Thank you, Amma.
It's great to see you. I love your colorful scarf.
Thank you.
Because you're just joining in. Okay. Let's hear your take on what we've been discussing so far.
Okay, so I want to take Blaze on one thing, what he said about the ethnicity part. So I think when Chimamanda, I should say, says that, through her character, says that she's an Igbo first before all the other tags that the Europeans bring, that is. I don't think she means it in a tribalistic way, as in Igbo versus Yoruba, or Igbo versus Hausa, or Ga versus Chi, or anything like that. I think what she means is that before Europeans came to Africa, we didn't see ourselves as Africans, a collective whole, as Africans or as black people. I think what she means is that they imposed the term Nigeria on us, or Ghanaian on us. So if you take the history of Ghana, for instance, that we had our kingdoms and our ethnicities, and those were not defined by a collective country term, Ghana or Gold Coast. And so she doesn't mean the Igbo in a sense of it being a tribalistic thing or an ethnic thing. What she means rather is that what we thought of ourselves was rather in our communities or in our ethnicities. And I don't think it's even limited to Africans, because if you take any sort of migration pattern, for instance, like Germans, for instance, before it became Germany, where they had the Austro-Hungary kingdom, for instance, that they didn't see themselves as Germans or Austrians, that they had Bavaria, for instance. It was only when they went out of Germany, for instance, into the United States, that they were identified as Germans. And so when Chimamanda writes that, she doesn't really mean it in terms of a tribalistic thing. What she means is that our view of ourselves was more insular, so that we saw ourselves more as defined by the community around us, not as black people. And I don't know if you can bear with me, but usually when we travel outside Ghana, or for the first time, that's when you first realize that, oh, I'm black. If you are here, you merge in with everyone else. And in the same way, when white people come to an African space, that's the first time they see themselves as, oh, I actually am different from the people around me here right now. And so it's not so much a tribalistic thing as a way of describing ourselves. And so I feel like if you argue it in a sort of tribalistic term, then you take it out of context of what she means by seeing, I don't know who the character is that said that, I'm very sorry, but whoever the character is trying to say at that moment that before the European came, this is how we saw ourselves, but with they coming, we had to redefine our concept of who we are to factor in the larger country, which is Nigeria, and then the continent, which is Africa, and then our race as black people. So yes.
You want me to?
Yes, I want you to react.
Okay. I mean, thank you very much for the feedback. I don't have rebuttals to the general discussions around who we were before the advent of colonialism and the division using these chiefs, you know. But we started a discussion around, my premise was the context even within which this book was written.
Okay.
And I'm saying that you cannot remove this book from the whole discussion around the Biafran War.
Yes, that's true.
And the Biafran War is a key context, reference point to this book. And what is the Biafran War?
It's a tribalistic, yes, I understand.
You understand? So if you are writing a book like this within that context, you are more than likely to make the interpretations that I made than you made.
Okay.
You know, more than likely. I don't disagree with the broader context that you brought in. But within the context of this book, within the Biafran War, and I'm anti that major division between the ethnicity in Nigeria. And if you are reading this book as an Igbo, then it feeds into that same division of, you know, ethnicity. No, but I agree with you in general that, look, before the advent of colonialism, we were identified in communities, you know, and these communities is important to re-emphasize it. I think that's what I can say.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. But isn't that the beauty, you know, of interpretations when it comes to books and literary works? You know, the fact that, you know, I can read it and take a general view or interpret it within the world, and I can read it and say, what's the theme here? You're like, Blazed, what's the theme? Biafran, okay, then this is the, you know, I mean, it's the beauty of, you know, and both perspectives, for me, only re-emphasize how brilliant Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is. I'm biased that way.
I think we have also discussed already that after this book, I think there's a movie.
Yes.
on this
Which
book.
I think doesn't do justice to the book.
Exactly.
Okay.
And when they wanted to premiere the book, we saw that the state came after Chimamanda because the state thought that it was going to re-emphasize the division between tribal lines. You know. Subsequently, I think it's been allowed to premiere.
We've even showed it a couple of times on Pan-African.
Oh, okay. You know. So is there, impression that the book creates that it's important to always,
And may I just chip in that I think you make a very interesting point that's looking at it within the context of the book. That, I mean, of course, this is talking about the Biafran War, so that's a war centered on ethnic division, so that's a perspective to look at. So I think that's an important thing to think about as well in interpreting that aspect of the book.
Right. Okay, so now we talk about my favorite theme of the book, the theme of love. And my biggest criticism is straight. Or that I don't even I'm tunnel visioned in my in my appreciation, and I extend it to activists, to revolutionaries, to progressives, and perhaps it's even a criticism of myself in a way, because I'm feminist. I identify as feminist. I'm sure you do too.
I do.
Yes, and also socialism. Blaze identifies as socialist, right? Blaze, you identify as feminist?
Yeah, I'm a feminist.
Absolutely. So this is the people who...
But not the Chimamanda feminist.
Imagine.
What's the
feminist? Imagine. He just had to spoil my day.
No, I mean, I have to be...
What is the Chimamanda feminist?
I have to be honest.
What is the
Chimamanda says that her role model is the former U.S. Secretary General. What's the name?
Secretary of State.
I can't conceptualize it. Why? The policies of Hillary Clinton has affected more women than anything else. So we have, you see, and feminism must also be seen within context. Any type of feminism that is not anti-imperialist cannot be feminism in my perspective. I have so many people who say they are feminists, but it's just this liberal, neoliberal feminism that they seek to project. And it is what? Replace the bourgeois men with bourgeois women, or push women more into the men positions. They are not talking about the system that impoverishes women, the system that stops women from achieving their potential. They are just seeking to represent men with women to still sit on the same system that oppresses women. So it's always, and I was shocked when I heard her in that interview. So if she's your role model, I cannot subscribe to your feminism, and then we know her history. We know that she's from a bourgeois aristocrat family.
That cannot be her fault.
I'm not saying it's her fault.
You can't hold her family against her.
Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that her ideas are a product of her socioeconomic background, which includes her family.
But that's true, no fault of hers.
I'm not saying
that. The family that she's born into is something that cannot be helped.
But at least you permit me not to be her kind of feminist.
But my question is, though, I mean, in as much as I agree with you about the kind of ideal where we push, basically we are saying those of us women who can push the men out should be allowed to take those positions and to sort of battle it out with the men at the top. I see where you're coming from, but I feel like a lot of the times we demonize people from a certain class, like the upper middle class people, and I feel like just her saying that, I mean, I can't speak too much to what Hillary Clinton's policies were and all that. I think I'll be out of my depth when I come to that, but I'm just saying that maybe there isn't much wrong with someone being a feminist and still being from a higher socio-cultural or socio-economic background than the average woman.
Can I just expand on
yes,
what you say so brilliantly? Just that by itself cannot be a problem. I think the problem becomes when she says, let's keep the status quo. Let's keep me upper class, and let's keep some people lower class.
Exactly.
I think that's where the problem comes in, isn't it? But just the fact of her being upper class cannot be used against her. Cannot be a problem.
No, it's not a problem
Right.
at all. But
until she perpetuates or insists on keeping the status quo as is, then we have a problem.